Welcome back to the lab, folks. So we got in a package delivered by DHL, and it's from PCB Way. Electronic PCB, 5 pieces. Let's get into this. I'm excited about this. This is going to be our little PICAXE development platform. I want to get into this. All right, there we go. Waste no time here. This knife is sharp. There they are. Got them in blue this time. Switch back and forth. Makes things colorful around here, and all the boards are different colors. They even still do green from time to time. Okay, they look like sweet boards. Yep. Very nice. Very, very nice. We should do up one of these right away. I'm going to go look for some parts. Okay, so there we have a kit of all the parts. Very shortly we're going to get that over there to the soldering bench. We're going to solder this up and bring it back to you. Some of the things that I was counting on seem to come out okay on it. You've got the copper pore down here with the thermal vias going through to the copper pore in the front. We've got the keep out for the solder mask here so we can get really good contact with the regulator. And everything else seems to be okay. This little pin 1 designation here. Show you where you should put the chips. Let me straighten the pins on this socket here. I don't know why they always come with bent sockets. All right. See if that can be seen once this is in place. If we can get it in place with the sockets, but yeah, so there we go. Yeah, you can see that nicely. All right then, so without further ado, let's go over there to the soldering bench, and I'll come back when this is all soldered up. Okay, here we have it all built up. Got myself some pickaxes here. Yeah, that came out pretty good. I haven't cleaned off all the flux off the bottom yet. I'll do that. We got a reset switch here. So as long as you put in pin 1 of the device where it says pin 1 there, work with the 8 pin because they have the same locations for power and for the programming pins. 20 pin or 14 pin pickaxes will work in here. So that's pretty handy. It's a multi-purpose platform. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the round part actually goes a little bit below the surface of the board. So I had to put in a cutout for that. It came in okay. I could have made it a bit smaller than that, but that's fine. Everything looks be pretty nice here. So okay, let me show you what I have. I have a bunch of modules around here, but let me show you some very, very simple ones. Like a module can be something as simple as a potentiometer. That's a module. So you just hook it up so that I can connect onto here. So the way I've put these in, these pins here, is the signals on the inside. Then the next row is the voltage, and the next row is the ground. And white, red, and black match that up. So you would plug this in. If you're plugging this into, let's say here, you would plug it in with the white on the inside, black on the outside, and now it's connected up. So it'll supply VCC and ground to it, to the outsides here. The wiper is the signal going into the microcontroller. You could also have something just as simple as a plain ordinary old switch here. You could have something like the little module that we created a couple of videos back. This little display module using the MAX 7219. Or you could have something like this servo here is a module. So there are 2 kinds of modules, right? There are actuators, those things that the microcontroller actually controls, and sensors, those things that provide input for the microcontroller. And once you build up a good library of modules, you can do a variety of circuits from those modular designs. You can breadboard them using a platform like this, write the software for them. Then when it comes to putting together a application-specific schematic, you would take all the schematics from your different modules that you're combining into that application, and then design a board around those, have the board made and populated, and away you go then. You have your design. So that's kind of the concept behind modular design using microcontrollers. So how are we going to play with this today? So let's see if I can find a little flashing light module. Okay, let's hook this thing up. I'm going to hook it up here to power. A red LED comes on telling us that our power is okay. And I put in the programming cable in here. And I found this little indicator module, you want to call it what it is. It's just an LED with a resistor, and it comes down to pins, signal and VCC. So let's put that down here onto port B7 here. This pin here on the PICAXE 20M2, right down at the bottom there. And I'm going to go send a little blinking program to blink that LED. Now what we should see here are these two LEDs. One is green, one is blue, and they should come on to tell us that data is coming down and that acknowledgements are going back to the host computer. So let me fire off that program and let's see if that works that way. There we go. Perfect. I believe this is the receive and this is transmit from this perspective. And it's blinking. Okay, let me change that to a more even blink. Let's check to see if our reset works here. So what that should do is cut the power to the MCU itself, but nothing else. So, yep. And that resets that as well. Okay, so let's set up to do something a little bit more sophisticated. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a potentiometer, the servo that I have here, and this display. So what we're going to do is we're going to take an input from the potentiometer. We'll do a little bit of math on that, convert it to a range that we can send out to the servo here to rotate the servo. And we'll put that range up here on the display so we can see exactly what we're sending to the servo. Okay, so I wrote this little program here to do what we want to do. Now this uses the Max 7219 template that I showed you before, and it's just all I've done is change the sample code in it. So what we're first going to do is we're going to set up on the first digit right here, we're going to send it a letter P, that's your position. And then what we're going to do is we'll read the potentiometer. I'm going to put that on C1, which is down here at the bottom here. And we're going to divide that value by 2, because what we're going to get when we read the potentiometer is a value between 0 and 255. So it's just an 8-bit value. And we're going to divide that by 2 to get the range that we want. Because the PICAXE only deals with integer math, we'll get a 0 to 127, which is perfect range for this particular servo here. And so we add that result to 86 to get a position value to send to the servo. So that's a value between 86 and 213. And in this section here, the reason I have the if statement here is the comparison between B2, which is going to have our value in it, and B3 and B4 is to provide a hysteresis. Because if I have this potentiometer set at some point, and every time it reads it, it gets a different value, like 199, 199. It's going to try and drive that relay back and forth. So what I want is a little one value hysteresis here, which should give us a nice stable environment. So once I determine whether or not B2 has updated to be less than B3 or greater than B4, then I send B2 out to the servo, and I set up to display the value of B2. So I set up the variable number, and then I go to max parse, which will actually update the display for us. Then we reset our hysteresis values here. So a very simple little piece of code. You get the job done for us. All right, hopefully. Anyway, let's put all this together, and we'll come back and we'll send this code down to it and see what we get. Now, what I should point out here is that I'm going to use a separate power supply from this for the servo. These servos, these big chunky servos, take quite a bit of power, and especially when they're accelerating and stopping, they can add an enormous amount of noise in if you plug them into here. So I've got this separate supply here for it, and I've built this little board here. So the servo plugs into that little board this way, and then plugs into where it needs to go on here. And I think we're done. So yeah, let me get the program up and ready and download it to this and see if we can make this do what we want it to do. Okay, progress coming down. Okay, looks like I may have to reset the display. Unfortunately, I don't have a reset button on it. There we go. So it's telling us that we're in position mode and we're going to send the servo position of 86, which is all the way counterclockwise. Now we keep coming up. And we can see how nice and stable it is. That's from that code that I put in there for the hysteresis. A little bit of jumping around there. These potentiometers aren't the greatest, but there you go. So I can move it all the way to its clockwise position and all the way back to its counterclockwise position. That's it. And if you notice, like if you were to do this up on a breadboard, it'd be a kind of a little mess. So this is what I like about modular design, is that once you start incorporating modules, you just plug them all together and you get these wonderful little prototypes that are actually good fit for demonstration. But you know, having something like this, like we had done before, and you got little wires and resistors and things going all over the place, and nothing is plugged properly together. For one thing, these breadboards are unreliable, and the only thing you use them for is a quick little test something out. But this way, you can actually put these things together. You can mount the modules to a frame, and then you actually have then a proof of concept that you can bring out and demonstrate to somebody. And yeah, that's the idea behind modular design. So that's it. There it is, the Unilabs DX3. And I don't know why I called it that. I guess because I called all my previous ones I built back, you know, a decade or so ago, DXs as well. There was the DX1, the DX2, the DX-BP, which was a kind of like a little Arduino version. And now we've got the DX3, which is all through whole component version. And it works. So I'm going to put up the Gerber files up onto PCBWay. If you're interested in making one of these for yourself, I'll put up a bill of materials and whatever else you need to do that. I don't know when I'll get around to that, maybe in the next couple of days. But once I do, I'll put a link to that into the description of this video. Well, that's it. That's all I have today for you folks. This was a great success. I'm going to enjoy using this in future videos when we work with PICAXEs. So look forward to seeing this again. And we'll try some other PICAXEs as well, like the 08. In fact, I have a project in mind for this display and something else, another module, which I think I'm probably going to build on the next video, or at least design it, and then the video after that we'll build it up, and then we'll try out this little idea that I have as an end product using this method to develop. All right, folks, thanks for joining me today. We'll see you in the next video, and thanks to PCBWay for making all this possible. Bye-bye now.